Hi everybody, welcome to Made Smarter's Bite-Size Lunchtime Live. This is the second of our LinkedIn Lives that the team at Made Smarter, the adoption program, has done. Hopefully everybody is settling in. My name is Jonathan Richards. I'm the Head of Marketing and External Affairs for Made Smarter in the Northwest. And I'm joined today by a couple of my colleagues who will introduce themselves shortly. What we're actually going to be doing is taking a little bit more of a deep dive into the Made Smarter, the process behind the Made Smarter that will help SME manufacturers understand how to get grant funding, skills and leadership training, and the support that we offer. So without further ado, if I could just ask my two esteemed colleagues who've joined me today to give themselves a little bit of an introduction, and then we can get started. Kev.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I'm Kevin Smith, and I'm the lead technology adoption specialist on the Made Smarter program. I've been with the program for about 4 years now. So that's
fantastic.
Me.
Fantastic.
Hi, I'm Sarah Woodhams. I'm one of the technology adoption specialists, and I've also been with Made Smarter nearly 4 years, not quite 4 years, but yeah, getting there.
Fantastic. So let's start thinking about the Made Smarter process. But before we do that, Kev, can I just throw you the first question, and just for you to describe to the audience today that have joined us what Made Smarter is, what are we about?
Sure. So we're a government-funded program, and our mission is to take the confusion out of new technology for the UK's SME manufacturers. And so what we're here to do is give really easy-to-understand advice and support. Our aim is to be the easiest and most straightforward service to use for anyone looking to upgrade their manufacturing with new technology. Our focus is really on making things really simple, clear, and being helpful to our customers.
Cool. So you say bringing in technology. So that's like, is that to support anything? Maybe a digital transformation? Is it? How does it help the business from that point of view?
Yeah, exactly. We believe in the power of technology to transform the way manufacturing works. It's all about doing more and doing it better. So by adopting the latest technology, businesses can really boost their productivity, meaning they get more done in less time. But it's not just about working faster, it's all about working smarter as well, hence the name. And this means using fewer resources, so reducing things like carbon emissions, saving time, and all things which are critical for a sustainable future. I think importantly, it's also about, this doesn't mean fewer jobs, which is something that often gets thrown at us. On the contrary, our approach is creating new jobs, better paying roles, and providing valuable upskilling services and opportunities for workforce development. We're basically committed to making the UK manufacturing a more attractive and rewarding place to work.
Great. And just in terms of that scene setting, Sarah, if we could just, from your perspective as one of our lead advisors, I mean, who's Made Smarter actually for? And, can you just give me an idea, or give the audience an idea about the sort of existing criteria, maybe describe some of the types of typical clients that we'd work with, or that you've worked with in your experience over the last 4 years of being a part of the program?
Yeah, sure. So we're basically, we can support SME manufacturers. So that's people with less than 250 staff with a turnover of less than 36 million. But it can be anybody that makes anything almost. And that kind of covers from really quite technical, intricate manufactured engineering, robotics or something that's got hundreds of different parts and processes, to just a simple sort of pasta manufacturer where there's just 2 ingredients and that's that. So it's really all levels of manufacturing and different sizes of business, from smaller manufacturers to obviously up to the 250 staff level. So anybody that makes anything, I would say, is worth always giving us a call.
And within your time then, Sarah, presumably you've worked with big and small clients, from both more well-known sectors and to more obscure sectors. I mean, just as an interest, how, can you sort of give me a shout? typically, who would these type of businesses be from one end to the other, small to large, or whatever?
Definitely, like I said, a lot of larger engineering type businesses that are, making quite bespoke engineered solutions to quite difficult, challenging problems. Quite a lot of the stuff that I do can be for the nuclear industry. So, harsh environment, robotics, that kind of thing, where it's really quite detailed and technical to, like I say, very simple food manufacturers, cakes, pasta, I do quite a lot of sort of artisan type clients based sort of near the Lake District, like I am. I get sort of that handcrafted type of client where they want to digitize, but they don't want to lose that handcrafted side of their business, which is that can be quite a challenge to keep the unique selling point of the business, but to also integrate the digital technology within them.
So you'd say regionally then the emphasis on the businesses is different. So you talk about nuclear there typically because we've got nuclear power station up in the north west. So it can be, but it could be anything, couldn't it? It is really just a case of depending on the region, it could be biased in slightly more heavy engineering or more, as you say, artisan as well.
100%. I mean, we get other clients that are just popping out the same little something thousands at a time, and it's the same product every day, all day. It just depends,
It really is diverse, isn't it, manufacturing? It really is diverse, I think. And that's, one of the challenges for our program is, how do we design a service which, meets all those different demands and challenges? So there's, not a one size fits all approach to this. We have to really listen to the customers and focus on what their needs are and be flexible to meet them.
Yeah. And I suppose just with that point in mind, Kev, I mean, can you just explain a little bit more in terms of, what we offer? I mean, because obviously, there's a range of things that we've got. I mean, from your perspective, in terms of maybe touch on some of your clients, but just give a bit of an overview of what are our the products and services that we can bring to the SME.
Yeah, maybe it'd be useful just sort of explain our overall guiding principles when it comes to our service. First is, as I mentioned before, it's all about ease of access. So it's making it simple. So the service is designed to be simple and user-friendly. We're trying to make sure it's always within reach, so it's always easily accessible, whether that's online or in person. We really try and make sure it's time efficient as well, because we understand one of the main problems with manufacturers is they've got a lot going on every day. So our service is streamlined to be quick and efficient. We do things like fast track learning, training and guidance structured to deliver maximum value in the minimum amount of time. It's also really about getting hands-on with technology as well. So learning by doing. We really believe in showing, not telling people about technology. And we also really believe in real-world application. So showing customers case studies of other manufacturers that might have had the same challenges and resolved them through technology. So, there's some sort of key parts of our overall service offer. But in concrete terms, what would happen when a manufacturer approaches us is they'd first of all register on our website, which you can access at madesmarter.uk. And once they've registered on the website, there we go. Thank you. We've got a nice graphic to show what they need to do with the eligibility criteria. If you go on that QR code, I think it takes you to the registration page. Yeah. If you meet that criteria. So once they've registered, they'll get a call from one of the advisor teams, me or someone in my team, someone like Sarah, within 48 hours of registering. And they'll host a workshop. And workshops are really just about helping us to understand more about their business, and the opportunities for technology adoption. Sarah, did you want to talk a bit more about the specifics of the workshop there?
Yeah, sure. So the workshop really, it takes a couple of hours. It's on site with the business. We like a number of different people within the business to be involved. So not just one person's point of view, but a point of view from people within the business at different levels. So shop floor level, management level, different areas. So production, manufacturing, but also maybe finance or sales, plus obviously the leaders of the business. Ideally, sort of between sort of 3 and 6 people. We then, like I say, we come on site. We talk about 4 different areas when we're looking at the workshop. So we talk about the product, what it is that they actually make and manufacture, what tools do they do to design that, how do they come up with the designs, is it something that changes all the time, is it just a standard product, what's in the product range, that kind of thing. We then look at the service, so how do they sell what they make? So do they have a sales team? Is it just online? Is it through distributors? Is it direct to the client? That kind of thing. And then we look at the process. So we'll do a line walk of the facility. We'll look at how are they actually making the thing that they make? What areas can be improved? Look at what systems they're using. Are they using data systems? Is it all on paper? Is it people manually doing things that could possibly be done by robotics or any of those types of things? So we do a line walk and look at the different areas within the business. And then we finish off looking at the people, who's involved in making those products, what different departments are there, how many people, are there any challenges within their sort of the people side of things at the moment. And then after that workshop, we then create a digital roadmap. And the digital roadmap covers, hopefully, technologies that are useful to them now, but also then moving forward in their sort of journey over the next 3 or 4 years. And we present that back digitally so that the client can see that at any time they like. And it also includes things like cybersecurity, net zero, some things, Kev, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, people, the people side of it.
Yeah, we have a couple of steps which are always common in every roadmap, and I think they're quite important because they really follow transformation best practice. The first one being that we ask them to nominate someone to lead change in their business. We call that a digital champion, or you can call that person whatever you want, as long as it's polite, I guess. But what that person is tasked with is about embedding that technology in the business. We don't just leave that person to their own devices. We offer us a training program for that person called Leading Change for Digital Champions, quite conveniently, and that's run by our organisation development team. I think there are places. There's places available for the next cohort, which I think starts in April.
Yes,
April. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up that way. Join that program in parallel to doing the transformation roadmap with us. That's a key part of a roadmap. The other key part is measuring success. So you don't know what success is until you can what it looks like. So we help them create baseline measures in relation to whatever they're trying to achieve, and we help them to take those measurements over time. See how impactful the improvements they're making are being on their business. So they're key steps in every roadmap.
Yeah. So it's just to interject. It's an ongoing process, though, isn't it? So we're not in the business just for a short period of time. I think what you're alluding to there, Kev, it's part of a holistic approach. And I think just to reflect a little bit back in terms of the challenges typically that most SME manufacturers and most manufacturers will be having in their businesses. It's the how can we help them improve productivity? Are there any efficiency gains that can be made? Is it about knowledge transfer? Is it about digital transformation of their organization? And I think what you're saying, Kev, is that when we step into this workshop and it's a light, would you say it's a light touch? We're not in the business for days. I think it's an initial light touch with the organization. And I think that's the important thing to try and get across, is that we've got some expertise, but it's really part of helping them on their journey of digital transformation. We're not there to solve it in one meeting, but it's to bring it to the fore in their mind, help them shape their direction of travel, and then we talk about technology, but actually, is it? I mean, do we buy the technology for them? I think we grant fund, don't we? So we can provide them with some funding. Do you want to just touch maybe a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, some of the things you were saying there about continual support, that's 100% what the program's about. Our commitment doesn't end with this initial service, the workshop. We provide continuous support just to ensure manufacturers evolve as technology evolves, because, technology doesn't sit at one point in time. There's always new advancements happening that, manufacturers need to be aware of. And that's our role, really raising awareness of these technologies and helping them to embed them in their business. So there's that aspect of it. And on the side of things, we are able to support with match-funded grants, 50% match-funded grants capped at £20,000 for investment in technology. So once we've identified a project and we're comfortable that it's the right project for that business at that time, what the technology adoption specialist team will do is support the manufacturer in making an application for grant funding. Again, we try and keep this a really straightforward process. It's not too onerous. A lot of the work's done already when you get to that point. So, it's really just about validating some of the stuff you've already talked to us about. We hope you put that together in the form of a business case, which again is a helpful process. It's not just a grant for grant's sake. It's a very helpful process to go through with us and the rest of the team. So, yeah, in short, Jonathan, that's how we work.
That's good. I mean, again, I don't just from the session today. You keep dipping out from me a little bit in case that's happening with anybody else. This has been pre-recorded. This has been recorded live, and we know it's live because there's some strange globe blowing in my face at the moment, which apparently is the sun. So, we'll store this on our website so you can actually download this later. And another thing to note as well is if there's any questions that people have throughout this, if you could just drop them into the chat function, we'll pick them up towards the end if there are any specific questions that people have. Great. So, in terms of the digital roadmap, then, Sarah, I mean, have you got some more thoughts on that, or maybe some examples of how well that has worked with some of the clients that you've been working with?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to note that sometimes clients come to us with a project in mind and they think, right, I really want to do this for my business, and that's great. But it is also following the workshop and the roadmap and the suggestions that are available. They do come up with other projects and actually move forward to grant funding with a different project. I had a company that makes adventure sort of climbing walls and zip wires and that kind of thing, and they came to us looking for 3D printing facilities to enable them to bring their manufacture of sort of hand holds for climbing walls back in-house. But following the workshop, we identified that actually a 3D scanning project to scan the environment that they're building the climbing wall in was more beneficial for the business at that time. So they moved forward with a 3D scanner to scan the environment, put that into the design software to then be able to design the climbing wall to the exact measurements, to not have to make multiple visits back to site. They can do it all in one go, have the data there. And it actually saved them, the design process went from 2 to 3 weeks down to 2 to 3 days. It saved 75% on the money was reduced by 75% from not having to revisit sites, not having to go backwards and forwards, and having that data available. And also on the installation side, the installation went a lot smoother because the data they had was, a true scan of the whole environment, and it was designed to that. So, there are situations. I've got another example where we had a kitchen manufacturer who came to us looking for some design software, but in the end, we are following the workshop and the roadmap. They moved forward with integrating that design software with also a virtual reality headset, so that their clients could see their finished kitchen in virtual reality before manufacture. And that increased, their closure rate for sales by 15%. So, being able to visualize that kitchen and what it was going to look like in their own home before obviously designing it, before making it, really made a difference to them. And, the technology, it wasn't that big a jump to go from the design software that they're already using and utilizing and just then moving it on to that next stage of the virtual reality. So it's important to know that you may well come with something in mind, and some businesses come just completely open-minded as to what technology can help. But yeah, the roadmap and the workshop that we do does come up with other technologies that actually businesses then go, yeah, I'm going to move forward with that one now.
It's very much a case then of us being quite agnostic then from a technology point of view, because I know some of our advisors have got maybe a bias towards one certain technology. But I guess what you're saying there, Sarah, is that a business might have in mind a certain piece of technology that they want to digitally, they think is relevant from a digital transformation point of view. But once you've done that initial workshop and you've actually you've talked to, how many directors or who in the business would you be talking to, just as a matter of curiosity?
Yeah, so it's a variety of people from different areas of the business, hopefully. And I think it's important to say that obviously if we do come up with something that they weren't thinking of, they may well need advice and support with that idea before then moving forward with the grant. And that's where we can kind of put them in touch with the relevant person within our team to say, do you need more support on this particular technology? And the advice comes before they then go towards that grant. So they're fully aware of sort of what the technology can do for them and that it is the right way to go.
And I suppose, just to add one point there, question, I suppose then the process can be quite onerous for some SME manufacturers, especially the smaller SME. And when we talk about smaller SMEs, I think we're talking about businesses that may be circa 10 employees, maybe slightly larger, maybe slightly smaller. But there's often a fear, I think, of how many forms do I have to fill in, and the process is too complicated. I mean, how do we help from that perspective?
I would say, my role as a adoption specialist is to really almost handhold that business through the process. So obviously they have to work together. It's their business. They know how their business works. But from the grant funding point of view, we really help them to fill all the forms in. It's a very simple process. They're not kind of just left with it. We're in constant communication. We'll have a Teams call, walk through it together. And there's a lot of support. And I think a lot of our businesses comment afterwards how easy it was and how simple the process was to get the grant funding and move forward.
I mean, it goes back to what I said at the top, Jonathan. Our whole mission is about making it easy for SME manufacturers to bring these technologies into their business. I think there's a few questions in the chat that relate to the current conversation. So
I was about to say, Kev, I mean, this is a topic that, I mean, we're not really here to try and sort everything out in a 30-minute session. And obviously, moving forward, we're going to have more monthly sessions where we can delve into specific topics. It's probably, as you say, a good moment right now, because there are a few questions that have popped in the sort of last 5 minutes before we complete today's session. Is we could just sort of answer those questions. So I don't know who wants to go first on this one, but I'll just shout the question out and one of you two guys jump in. So how do you connect manufacturers with appropriate service provider?
So I think the important thing to stress with all of this is that we're completely technology agnostic. We'll never recommend one technology provider over another. Our goal is to advise manufacturers on the best ways to go about finding a technology provider and, sharing with them the best places to find that technology provider. We do have a directory on our website, which they may use. There's also, you can use search engines to find technology providers as well. But our role is certainly not about saying, here's this technology provider, you should work with them. That's not what we do at all. And there's another question about implementing technology. Again, this is not our role. We're just about giving advice on what you need to do to implement technology, how you go about finding technology providers to do it. I think there's basically sort of three options companies faced with when we've identified a project. There's three options. Number one is often actually working better with existing technology providers. So we give advice on how you build collaboration. Number two is developing the technology themselves through collaborative R&D. There are opportunities for the Made Smarter innovation side of the program to do that, but that's not a very common option, if I'm perfectly honest, because manufacturers do lack the time to do this thing. The third and most common option we find is to find a technology provider. And as I said, what our support there is about how you go about doing that. So, gathering requirements, a checklist for things you need to look for in a good technology provider. So that's how that part of the program works.
Yeah, that's good. I think one of the other questions, we're not there to implement though, are we? I mean, we don't implement the technology, so we don't work with specific suppliers. I suppose again, back to the agnostic element of it, is that we're not really there to say use this robot, use this ERP system. That's really there for the end. Our client to define with our support of who they wish to use. But as you say, we have quite a large list of businesses that we could potentially recommend 10 as part of the process for working on which ERP system would be the best for them, for example, or which piece of augmented reality software, or which 3D printer, for example.
Yeah, and when it comes to specific technologies like ERP systems, you mentioned it there, and there's a question I see in the chat regarding ERP systems. Yes, they are a very common piece of software for manufacturing SMEs. I think, I can't remember the exact percentage, but there's a big percentage of the projects that we fund are ERP systems. Do we have in-house knowledge on that? Well, we know we do have in-house knowledge on it, but again, we wouldn't go into the implementation. We'd just be advising a customer as to whether they ERP system or not, whether another piece of software and a different approach would be better for that business. So that's how we work.
I was just going to say, I think it's worth saying as well that if there's similar businesses that have similar problems and are implementing technology, we can put them in touch with. There may be another client that we've worked with previously who's gone down that route and has chosen an ERP as an example. And if this other client is thinking might be the one for me, we can put them in touch with them. They can have a chat about what happened in their implementation. How did it go? What were the things they would do differently next time? And, the clients can then share knowledge on the different technologies that they're using.
100%. That's super important, Sarah, because it's all about a community approach, I think, where manufacturers can learn from each other. And share each other's insights. That's something we're actively trying to foster all the time.
I think that's a really important point, almost to finish on, Kev. From that point of view, it's we're there to facilitate and support a network of like-minded businesses, because you're not on your own. That's the whole point of this, is that in this digital transformation journey that an SME manufacturer might look to be doing, they're not on their own. There's lots of support available. It's usually the first starting point will be to work with Made Smart, and we can help you on that. But if we can't help, or you're not quite ready at that point, then we can recommend or support you with other tools or other or parts of the funding national funding program that you might be more applicable to at this particular time. And then you could always loop back to us over a period of time. I think this is quite interesting as well, Kev, as you said. Not everybody's ready at this specific moment. There can be a good period of time where we might introduce ourselves to a client, run through the workshop, and then it might be a number of months, 6-8 months later, before that particular business comes back to us again for support. So I think, as we said at the very beginning, and we probably should finish on this because we're just coming up to our 30-minute slot. Made Smart is a program to help SME manufacturers. I think the first thing to do for those businesses that aren't familiar with what's available, get onto our website, www.madesmarter.uk. and have a good look at some of the businesses and some of the cases we've worked with, and see if this funding or this support is right for you. Register on our website, and then one of our advisors will come on to you, and we can start that process. I think really just from a final point of view, and I'm going to drop this into the comments, don't take our words for it. There's a page that I've just put on our website there called For Makers. There's a list of about 10 different businesses, maybe even more, where there's a little bit of a talking head video on each business's experience of working with Made Smarter over a number of years. And I'd potentially direct people who are watching today to that part of our website to understand a little bit more. I'd also like to thank everybody for joining us today. Again, we've just run over. Thanks to you, Kev, and thanks to Sarah for sparing the time today to chat a little bit about Made Smarter. Hopefully everybody has found this interesting. We've got another session penciled in for the 14th of February. So our Valentine's bite-sized lunch session. We hopefully will see you again then. And if you have any specific questions in the interim period, please feel free to reach out to us. Thanks again for joining us.